All right, graphics are one of those things that can kind of make or break a big chunk of the rest of your video. If you have bad graphic design or bad motion graphics, but the rest of your visuals are really pretty, the graphics are going to drag you down. But if you don't have the most amazing visuals in the world, but you have good motion graphics, it's going to up your production value a lot. It's going to feel a lot better, even if it's shot on an iPhone. So we're going to go over a bunch of the basic things that I have learned about graphic design and about motion graphics, because those are two different things. And we're going to talk about the tools at your disposal as we go. So first thing, you can create some stuff in Premiere. Whenever I need a solid color, I just do it straight in Premiere. So I go to New Item, Color Matte. I want it to be the size of my sequence. Hit OK. Now pick a color of your choosing. This is going to be kind of an arbitrary pick. When designing graphics, there's kind of a few things to keep in mind. You know, you want to think about kind of overall theme. Is there a kind of thing that you're trying to portray? Pinterest is super helpful for finding visual themes, right? Do you want to do an 80s beach party? Do you want to do Matrix edgy sci-fi? Those are very different, and you're going to be making different decisions for each. So you kind of got to know what direction you're trying to go and what look you're trying to find. Once you decide on a visual theme and you've spent a bunch of time on Pinterest educating yourself on the look that it is that you're wanting to create, then there's a couple of big questions that you're going to want to answer. Fonts and colors. Let's actually just do this. So let's pick an aesthetic that we want to go to. I want to go for bright summertime. Let's go 80s summer marketing. 80s summer graphic inspiration. So I'm kind of thinking like the weird kind of doodly fonts, loud colors. So I'm noticing very, very, very vibrant colors, the use of kind of the full rainbow. This slice one is a little bit brighter. This one's a little bit duller. And then Pinterest is so smart. I'm just going to go to the board that we just made, and it'll give me more suggestions. So this kind of went a little bit more 90s. But that's okay. So we got a bit to go off of now. Peloton. Yes. Peloton is sick. I have never been paid to graphically design anything. A few years ago, my employer paid for a graphic design course for us to take if we wanted. I got part of the way through it and lost interest. I've messed around with this kind of stuff a little bit, and I'm learning more about it for myself right now. I'm just kind of repeating what I was taught in that course and what I've tried that seems to be working. We're just trying to get to something that works, right? We're just trying to get to something basic. Like, we're not going to revolutionize graphic design or start any new trends here. This is not the course for that. But we want to make something that feels cohesive. So by making a bit of a vision board where we know where we're going, and then using a palette tool like Peloton in order to help us find the palette. Okay, so what Peloton does is it uses a bunch of your basic color principles and theories and helps you, kind of automates the process to find good color palettes so that you can find the same hue and saturation and tone in all of the colors that you're picking, okay? So we want a lot of colors. We already know that based on all of these, right? We're going to use kind of the full spectrum, but we want all of those colors to have the same tone and weight. That's not a word that people use in color theory. I don't know a lot of color theory. I just know Peloton works. So I'm going to do the 4 colors. This is kind of dull. I want to brighten it up a little bit. So if I move one, you can see it moves all of them, which is sick. Ooh, yeah, okay, we want to go a little bit brighter. Color is cool, though. Look what happens when I move towards the white and less saturation. Look what happens when I move towards the black and less saturation. Now look what happens when I move towards the saturation. Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool. Color is cool. I kind of want softer colors, but I want them to be, yeah, so like lighter and brighter. I'd like to go a bit more blue on this side. Yeah. Okay. This is cool, huh? Okay, so now we have a color palette. Look it! We made a color palette. It's so cool. A little bit more teal. I like that. Add a bit more red to our orange as well. Cool. Okay, and then we hit tables export. Now these are all of our hex codes and our RGB codes. All right, so now let's build some graphics. We started going green here anyway. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take our pale green color and I'm gonna make our background that. Our 3 graphics tools to create visuals are the pen tool, the shape tool, and the type tool. Now, I think I've shown this before, but if you hold Alt, you can toggle between multiples here, okay? The pen tool is only one, but the text tool switches between horizontal typing and vertical typing, okay? So let's make a few shapes. If we hold Shift, it makes a uniform box. And I do actually want this to be a square. I'm gonna make it kind of small. Now I can go in here, and here is all of my options. So there's fill, stroke, and shadow. Fill is the color within the lines. Stroke, if I make this a loud color and make it thick, you can see stroke is the line on the edge, the line itself. Shadow is, if I make this stronger and bigger, shadow is literally just like a dark duplicate underneath. Okay, so there's a couple of graphic design principles that I know of that are most important, right? One is size. So dum dum here is more important than don't be a, right? So that's size. Another one is color. Beach party is more important than Hawaii here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my colors for greater emphasis. So I'm going to reserve the darkest colors in my palette for my text. So I think I'm going to do these middle colors here for my shapes. So by the way, what I'm doing here, this is called a hex code. This is like a uniform code that computers understand. I don't know what the numbers mean, but all I know is that this specific pink, this very specific hue and tone of pink right here is C6-2A85. I'm pretty sure it's like that on all computers everywhere. That's just how computers understand that color to be. And I think whether it's Mac or Windows, a hex code, just this is the color that all computers know that it is. And I don't know how that works or why that works. I just think that it does. Okay, so now we have our little box, and I don't want to do stroke. I can already tell you I don't like it. Now, I'm just going to pick some random shapes and do a bunch more of these. So I'm going to hold Alt and drag up to duplicate this shape. And then I'm going to change the shape's rotation. And I'm going to move it over there. And then I'm going to do that again. Okay, now let's pick another shape. Make a uniform. Okay, so this is the thing. You can have multiple shapes in the same layer, and I made this circle in the square layer. Just it's kind of personal preference a lot of times whether or not you want to do that. If you have the graphic layer selected and then you make a new shape, it'll add that shape to it. But I want to make a new one. Okay, polygon tool. I'm deciding that I really don't like this being the background color, so I'm going to go with our soft pink option. Ooh, that's worse. That's so much worse. I'm going to go with our teal option. Okay, I'm going to do something crazy here. I'm going to go with a dark option. Yeah, I like that more. Okay. It's not bad. It's not great. But it's not bad. All right, now we need to find a font. Your computer comes with a few pre-installed. They're not necessarily going to be the best in the world, but they will be passable. Adobe has an amazing service called Adobe Fonts. They have a selection of a ton of more unique, well-made fonts that have pretty much universal licensing as far as I understand. And you can just go search in their vault and add whatever fonts you want to your system. So if you're paying for the Creative Cloud suite, the whole thing, then you'll have Adobe Fonts. If not, then you'll just have to find something that's pre-built into your system, into your computer system. You can also go to different websites that sell fonts and purchase the rights to use one and install it on your computer. They are a bit pricey, so it's up to you if you want to do that. I'm just going to start playing around with looking for stuff. I'm going to go funky because it sounds kind of along the lines of what we want. Part 1, explore. I mean, it's pretty loud and on the nose. Let's go with embryo. I really like how this one is used. Now, there's a lot more specifics in terms of finding fonts and finding the complementary fonts. Picking several fonts that go together is something that I am not good at. So I don't know how to talk through that part. Picking a font that goes with your style is obviously important. Now when it comes to font, there's a good amount of things to think about. The spacing between the letters, the spacing between the lines, the scale of the different lines in comparison to each other. I really, really like how these are actually. I'm just going to copy that. I'm going to bring the letters closer together using this one. I can't remember what this is called. And then I'm going to make each letter a different color from our palette using the slightly darker colors. I really don't want our background so loud still. I think I'm going to go back to one of our light colors. Oh, that's better. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Opacity is transparency, essentially. Oh, they're see-through in total, but they're not see-through to each other. Interesting. Okay. So what that means is I'm going to have to completely separate these. All right. Now let's line them back up. Well, let's actually test, make sure that this works. Aha! It worked. They just needed to be their own separate layers. That's so interesting how they don't have opacity to each other until they get removed from the group. Okay. This is cool. I've never done this before, and I wasn't planning on doing this. The one question that I have now is my shapes are popping way more than my words are because we ended up going with this opacity thing, which I like, but it's making you feel how the saturation of the saturation and opacity of these outer shapes is actually stronger. And so our letters inside are getting lost a bit. So now I'm trying to figure out how to bring them out while still having this overlapping look. I wonder... So here's another tool, is masking. So under opacity, there's the percentage of see-throughness, and then there's also shapes to basically make it a cutout. So we can cut it to be a circle, or we can cut it to be a square. So I'm going to cut it to be a circle, and then I can change these points. So mask feathering is the softness. So you see it's 10. You see that dotted line expands, and you can see it's softer and softer. So if there's 0 feathering, then it's going to be a hard edge all the way around. Oh, wait, I think I maybe no. Okay, I think it may have to do with blending modes. Blending modes are used to determine how two layers end up relating to each other, more or less. Okay, so the most common, which is normal, is for one to just be laid on top of the other. But there are other ways for the ones above and the ones below to essentially interact with each other. So I'm going to take a second, and I'm actually going to go back to 100% on opacity on all of these and see if I can come up with a blending mode where they will essentially be see-through to each other, but not to the background. I don't even know if that's possible, but... All right, so I'm just going to compare these two and see what I can do. So if I do the E, and I do... Oh! Okay, so we've already found some options. Okay, so if I go opacity 80, it gets really light. It just starts to show the orange behind it. But if I do darken, I really don't understand what all of these different blending modes do, but I have been told you just mess with them until they're doing what you want them to do. All right, I think darken is the way to go. Okay, now what's interesting, if I hit darken on this S, it doesn't change the color of the S. It just changes how it interacts with the stuff behind it. That's so weird. All right, so we solved the problem. So they're still like the tone that they should be. You see how these ones used opacity, and they're very light because they're just showing through to the orange behind. Whereas now that we've separated them out and we're using the darken blending mode, they're keeping their values, but they're also see-through to each other. Ooh, that's so cool. So blending modes are hugely important. In order to interact with each other with blending modes, they can't be on the same text layer. They've got to be an individual layer. This stack is now insane, so I want to get all these shapes together in one little thing. So I'm going to drag, I'm going to hit nest. And what that's going to mean is it's going to take all of these, it's going to put them into their own individual sequence, put that sequence into the project folder, and then pull just that sequence in. So I'm going to hit nest, shapes. Now all of those layers are in this sequence here. So now I have just a different sequence down here at the bottom. I'm going to break out summer so that this works as well, because I am actually really proud of how this looks. All right, now we'll just go through and we'll use the darken blending mode for just a couple of these to get that see-through look. Okay, this is cool. Graphic design is rewarding. Proud of it so far. Okay, so let's turn on this circle again. Under layering, so we're gonna do this. Now, I don't like the background again. Whoa, there it is. Okay, it needed to go darker. That's way better as black. The black is way better. Oh, it pops now. Okay, the green is too much. I want to go with a darker green. Yeah. That's not nearly as harsh. I'm going to make these their own nest. Okay, so that's another thing. I didn't realize the pink behind them. So they were doing that, so they were interacting with the pink. So if I nest it, that will mean that they will darken with each other, but when their sequence is brought in to this sequence, that sequence won't be interacting with anything. It won't be darkening. So they'll darken to each other, but they won't actually interact with the rest of the composition, if that makes sense. So this is the way to maintain our colors better. So I need to change this mask. Yeah. There it is. There it is. That is the majority of tools for graphic design that I understand. That's kind of the process that I would go about making something. Is this the most incredible graphic design in the world? Obviously not. It's actually wanting a lot. It's very, very, very basic. If I saw this like on a sign for an ice cream parlor, I would think that they probably spent about 2 hours making that logo. Which is exactly what I've done, is I've spent about 2 hours making this logo. So there's obviously something to be said for much more expertise in knowing your tools and doing them well. And not just that, but even just time invested. So that's a breakdown of all of the basic graphic design tools that you can use in Premiere Pro and the process that I take to go about making graphics.